Thank you all.
After his defeat, Jimmy Carter built the Carter Presidential Library and nonprofit Carter Center in Atlanta. It began the most active career of any former U.S. president in history.
We had a great resource available to us in having been the leaders, the first family of the greatest nation in the world. So we thought that we would try to devise a system to promote peace and human rights and to address the problems of physical suffering or deprivation of liberty or freedom. And it was that cause that made us evolve the Carter Center over a number of years.
Using his status as a former U.S. president, Jimmy Carter personally mediated agreements to ease tensions in several nations, including Haiti, Bosnia, North Korea, and Cuba, with a personal visit to Fidel Castro. In partnership with Emory University, the Carter Center chose to meet real-world problems head-on.
You can call on us. We'll be here.
The Carter Center monitored elections in dozens of countries, with Jimmy Carter often on hand to personally oversee the procedures in far-flung places, such as Nicaragua, the Palestinian territories, Indonesia, and, surprisingly, China, where the People's Republic experimented with local elections. His sharp eye caught an irregularity in a 1989 Panama election.
I examined the documents myself in the presence of the election officials. They were patently counterfeit. They had nothing to do with the actual documents that we had seen prepared the night before.
Jimmy and Rosalind Carter often traveled to remote areas to review the progress of the center's action programs, such as those working with local officials to teach small farmers to improve crop yields and increase food supplies. Other programs took on some of the toughest and most neglected diseases in tropical areas. Working directly to educate the villagers, the Carter Center shows them ways to prevent diseases, how to deliver medications, ways to develop better sanitary practices, and, in general, how to make their villages healthier.
One of the things that makes it possible for us to become involved in peace and ending human rights abuses is that we are already in those troubled countries quite often, preventing river blindness, eye disease, trachoma, lymphatic filariasis, eradicating guinea worm. If the worm comes out in a joint, say in your knee, it swells up and destroys the tissue. So the aftermath is very similar to polio. It completely debilitates that knee, and sometimes the leg is crippled for the rest of one's life. And of course, these kids can't go to school. The pain is too great and they need medical care. And if it's an adult, they can't go into the field to plant the crops.
Over the years, their travels brought the Carters into personal contact with some of the neediest and most isolated people in the world.
Those kinds of people living in a remote village, absolutely poverty-stricken and afflicted with preventable disease, are just as intelligent as I am, and just as hardworking as I am, and just as ambitious as I am. And their family values are just as good as mine.
In a 2002 ceremony in Oslo, Norway, Jimmy Carter's mediation of the Camp David Accords and his humanitarian work were recognized when he was awarded the Nobel Prize for Peace.
We can choose to alleviate suffering. We can choose to work together for peace. We can make these changes, and we must.